How a hedgehog might be capable of saving anybody has never been revealed. Dogs have saved the lives of humans, as have horses and even, famously, Capitoline geese, but never have hedgehogs been credited with such service to humanity. The family came originally from the eastern reaches of Bavaria. The earliest von Igelfeld is recorded in the 16th century in a reference in a land charter granted to a Heinrich von Igelfeld, proprietor of a farm endowed with 2 active mills. After that, there are 120 years of obscurity until another document records the transfer of a substantial estate to one Franz Joseph Graf von Igelfeld, now apparently a count. Some 80 years later the title seems to have disappeared, and the next von Igelfeld to be mentioned in any records has been demoted from Graf to Freiherr. That particular von Igelfeld owned a substantial parcel of land and may be assumed to have been wealthy, but a brief letter that has survived in the family archives refers to the problems that resulted from his having forgotten where his land was. And that difficulty dictated the fate of the family over the following years. There was an estate somewhere, but nobody knew where it was. By the time of Moritz-Maria's father, Hans Christian von Igelfeld, the family had largely lost contact with the land, although at least one uncle continued to be landed. Although the name was suggestive of nobility, the family was now firmly rooted in the professional classes in and around Munich. Hans Christian had been a professor of surgery who wrote a widely used book on the correction of incorrectly set fractures. His brother, Caspar, was an engineer who specialized in designing Archimedes screws. The family had lived in modest comfort, and would have disappeared into the haute bourgeoisie were it not for the unusual name and for their continuing sense that they belonged elsewhere, in rather grander circumstances than those in which they currently found themselves. After completing his school education at a classical gymnasium, Moritz-Maria had enrolled at the University of Heidelberg. It was there that he had first met Florianus Prinzel, the son of a banker, a member of a student corps, and highly popular for his sporting prowess. The relationship between the two young men was very much that of one between scholar, poet, and hero-athlete. Von Igelfeld admired Prinzel for his social ease and his bravery, but realized that he could never match his social and sporting achievements. At that stage, of course, he had had no idea that years later they would find themselves as close colleagues in the Institute of Romance Philology at the University of Regensburg. Nor would he have imagined that the friendship between them would be very much resented by another colleague, Professor Dr. Detlef Amadeus Unterholzer, who came from an obscure potato-growing family and who had long been envious of von Igelfeld's noble background. Of course, Unterholzer had other reasons to bear a grudge against von Igelfeld. These centered on von Igelfeld's role in the events that had led to the amputation of 3 of Unterholzer's Dachshund's 4 legs, requiring the dog thereafter to get around on a set of wheels strapped to his abdomen. That incident was still occasionally referred to by Unterholzer in an unmistakably resentful tone, prompting von Igelfeld to change the subject as quickly as possible whenever any mention was made of Dachshunds. After Heidelberg, von Igelfeld had undertaken doctoral studies at the University of Regensburg. The subject of his doctoral thesis was linguistic shifts in the Portuguese language, with special reference to their occurrence in Brazil and Goa.